Okay, so I think we'll start the canonical ensemble that we discussed last class is so I will try to first let's try to get an idea of these ensembles. So for that, what I will do is I will try to use so let's consider a system of some n spin half particles. The system we discussed earlier in microcanonical ensemble case in magnetic field. So this implies that you will have an energy for an upspin which is given by minus mu times b, and energy for the downspin is given by plus mu times b, where mu is the magnetic dipole moment and b is the applied field. So let us set some epsilon to be mu times. Now let's try to ask the following question. Suppose if suppose that the n is equal to 1, then you know that there are only 2 microstates associated with that. The spin can be up or the spin can be down. So if it is up, it has got an energy of minus epsilon, and if it is down, it has got an energy of plus epsilon. Now there is another case where let's say that there are 2 spins. So if there are 2 spins, then the possible microstates that both of these spins can be up, or first spin can be up and second spin can be down, and this can be down and this can be up, or both of them can be down. Now if this is the microstate, then the energy corresponding to this microstate is minus 2 times epsilon, and in these 2 cases the energy is going to be 0, and in this case the energy is going to be 2 times epsilon. Further, suppose if I have 3 spins, then I have the following microstates. All the 3 can be up. Now 2 can be up and 1 can be down, and this can happen in 3 ways. Or 2 can be down and 1 can be up. This also can happen in 3 ways, and all of them can be down. So you can see that this energy is minus 3 times epsilon. Now these 3 will have same energy, namely minus epsilon, and these 3 will have same energy, namely epsilon, and this will have an energy 3 times epsilon, and so on. I can have n is equal to 4, 5, 6, etc. Now I want you to understand that when we discussed about the concept of ensemble, we said that ensemble we have said that an ensemble has got 2 things. that is set of possible microstates with their respective probability. So let us consider only consider set of possible microstates. Let's not worry about their probabilities at this moment. Suppose if you consider a set of possible microstates only, then looking at this arrangement that I have drawn here, a system. Okay, so now let's say case 1. Okay, so I am going to fix. Let's say that all spin half particles are in some volume V. V is always fixed. Suppose if I say that I have n is equal to 3, that means 3 particles, and energy is equal to minus epsilon. That means you see n is fixed, E is fixed, and corresponding to this, the system can be in this microstate or this microstate or this microstate. So you can see that in the case 1, these are the possible microstates that the system can be in. Now what can we say? That this particular, since energy is fixed and n is fixed, this is like if this is an isolated system, the energy cannot change. That means from this to this it cannot come, from this to this it cannot come, because if it has to come from this to this, then it has to acquire energy. If it has to go from this to this, it has to give out energy. But if you have energy fixed, that means if it is an isolated system, the system can be only in these microstates. And this is what you have what is called a microcanonical ensemble. So this set of these 3 microstates correspond to a microcanonical ensemble where n is fixed as 3, E is fixed as minus epsilon. Suppose on the other hand, let's say in our case 2, suppose I say n is equal to 3. Okay, n is equal to 3, and instead some temperature is fixed or E is not fixed. Then what happens if temperature is not fixed? Then we are going to have this entire set becomes possible set of microstates. This is case 2. Okay, because now if you say that you have this 3 spin system, 3 spins, they are in some volume V, but then now it is like they are in contact with some heat bath. Okay, this is some bath. So what happens is that energy can now be exchanged with the bath because energy is not fixed. So the system can acquire some energy from bath and go from this energy all these microstates which are having different energies, they become accessible for the system to be in those microstates once you allow for the exchange of energies. So now this entire set, that is all these 8 microstates, they become accessible microstates for the system where its energy can be allowed to exchange. So like what you Arshad is asking, whether there is a time dependence. Now time dependence is there in the sense that whether at any given time system may be in this microstate or in this microstate or in this microstate or in this microstate, but the set of these microstates are fixed. Maybe system will jump from one microstate to other microstate as the time progresses. These are called microscopic dynamics. That will happen, but the energies are fixed and the number of microstates are fixed. So that is what. So this case 2, whatever we have here, this case 2 is what is called set of accessible or possible microstates for a canonical ensemble. Whereas in the case 1, whatever this I have drawn here, this is possible microstates of a microcanonical ensemble, because here the energy is fixed. If energy is not fixed, if you allow energy to be fluctuating, then what you have is a canonical ensemble. But you have to be bear in mind is not fully defined at this set of states, because canonical any ensemble also should be having the statement of probabilities, and hence as far as set of possible microstates is concerned, this entire column of microstates become accessible or possible for a canonical ensemble. Whereas if you have a microcanonical ensemble, depending on the fixed what is the energy that you fix, it will be either this set or this set or this set or this set, like that. And now this is a set of possible microstates of canonical ensemble can be visualized as a set of microcanonical ensembles. Like this is one microcanonical ensemble, this is another microcanonical ensemble, this is another microcanonical ensemble. Okay, so when I so that is one thing. And also now talk about case 3, which we will study later. Now I'm also not allowing n to be fixed. Can fluctuate. Okay, that means suppose if I have 3-spin system, one spin can go out of the system, or one spin can come into the system. So if you have that kind of a situation, then the number itself is not conserved, and because of that, there can be a situation that initially your system is in this microstate, and if one particle is going out of the system, then it can come to this microstate. So you can see that this entire set that which I have drawn and which I have not drawn, all of this set becomes accessible set of microstates for case 3. Okay, if you have one particle left out of the system, it can come to this column. If one particle is joining, it can come to this column. Another particle is joining, it can come to the next column, which I did not, of course, write here. But you can see that starting from n is equal to 1 to infinity, it could go for every n value you have a column, it can jump from one column to the other column. So all of them become accessible microstates. Now this is another ensemble which is called grand canonical ensemble. So we have 3 equilibrium ensembles that we study. One is microcanonical ensemble, which is this red marked case 1 that I have, where the energy is fixed, and canonical ensemble where only the number is fixed but energy is allowed to fluctuate, and grand canonical ensemble where even the number is not fixed, the particles can come inside, go outside, etc. And in that case, all these columns become accessible microstates. And as I told you, that a grand canonical ensemble can be visualized as a canonical ensemble for one particle, canonical ensemble for two particles, canonical ensemble for three particles, etc. So a set of possible microstates of a grand canonical ensemble can be written as set of canonical ensembles for a different number of particles. A canonical ensemble for a set of for a number of given number of particles can be visualized as set of microcanonical ensembles of distinct energies of that. So this is a kind of a cascaded set that you have for these ensembles. So it is in this sense that we have the set of possible microstates. Now each of this microstate will have its probability. Now that probability is what we are trying to ask a question about. And in the last class, I showed you that if we have, let's say, probability of a microstate Si, okay, probability of a microstate Si is given by e to the power minus beta into energy of that state Si divided by something called a partition function, where Z is called the partition function, which is given by sum over I into e to the minus beta ESI. That is energy of that microstate. So in this case, I'm going to, for example, if I'm interested in this, I go to this microstate, write down a Boltzmann factor for that, this microstate, this microstate, sum over all of them, I will get the partition function. Or equivalently, we have also written this to be sum over distinct energies, and omega, that is number of microstates corresponding to that energy, divided by into e to the minus beta into that energy. And remember, this beta is a shorthand notation to write 1 by kb into t. So it is like in this case 1 into e to the minus beta into this energy, 3 into e to the minus beta into this energy. So for example, for this omega is equal to 1, and for here omega is equal to 3, and here omega is equal to 3, and here omega is equal to 1. So that is how you get this relation. So this is like sum over all microstates, and this is like sum over all microcanonical ensembles, or sum over distinct energies. So this is how you get these probabilities. So, but you have to remember that once you write down this probability depends on the temperature. So even though set of all accessible microstates are same for any temperature, but the probabilities will depend on temperature. So if you have to define a canonical ensemble, you have to define a canonical ensemble corresponding to a particular temperature. Okay, a canonical ensemble at different temperatures will be different. Okay, so if you are writing a canonical ensemble, so we have set of microstates and then their respective probabilities. Okay, PSI. Okay, so now this I can go from 1 to whatever is the number. Let us call this number to be some script n. So many number of microstates are there. Now this set Si is independent of temperature, but P of Si and therefore your canonical ensemble is Ce depends on temperature. So for different temperatures, you will have different canonical ensembles. That is because the probability depends on the temperature. Okay, so this is in some sense what is called a toy model, which will help us to understand the meaning or idea of these three equilibrium ensembles. Now let me try to present some general results of canonical ensemble. Okay, so let's call this as some general results. Before we go and use this in understand some general results. Okay, so the first one that I wanted to discuss is supposing, like we said yesterday, we said in the last class that we had once you know that a partition function is obtained, z is equal to sum over I e to the minus beta vi. So this is sum over all microstates. Once you obtain this z, then you get the Helmholtz free energy as minus kb into logarithm of z. So you obtain it from this one, and then from here thermodynamics follows. So this is what we discussed in the last class. So we will try to look at average energy. So canonical probability density, that is probability of a microstate with energy EI is given by e to the minus beta into EI divided by Z. Okay. Now suppose if I want to find out average energy. Energy fluctuates, so energy is not constant, but we can ask in equilibrium there is something called an average energy that will not change. Or in other words, average energy is determined by the temperature of the bath. If you have a very high temperature, then you will have a large average energy. If you have a very small temperature, then you have a small average energy. So average energy can be written in the following form, namely, for each microstate, you have an energy EI, and then its probability is P of EI. So this is a general way of writing down the average of any random variable. So energy is a random variable, it's a fluctuating quantity. So to find out the mean value of this, I take EI and multiply with its probability. That is, I know what is P of EI, the canonical probability density, which is nothing but e to the minus beta EI divided by Z. Now remember, this Z is something which does not change with I, so I can pull that out. So this is equal to 1 by Z into sum over I EI into e to the minus beta EI. Now you can write it in the following fashion. I can obtain this kind of tricks are used in statistical mechanics very often. So I'm going to write this as sum over I. I'm going to write this as minus dou by dou beta of e to the minus beta EI. Now see what happens if you do this. You get minus EI, minus and minus will become plus. So it is same as EI into beta EI. Now remember, beta is simply the property of the bath or an ensemble, so I can pull that out of this. So I have 1 over z with a minus sign and dou by dou beta of what remains here is sum over I e to the minus beta I. And now you can see that this is same as the partition function. So we have average energy to be minus 1 over z into dou z by dou beta, which you can even write it as minus dou by dou beta of logarithm of z. Okay, so you can see that average energy can be obtained. So once the partition function is known, then we can obtain this average energy, which actually in thermodynamics is what we call internal energy, as minus dou by dou beta of logarithm of z. This is very important because most of the times our interest will be to find out the average energy in many applications. So the main aspect of statistical mechanics is to get the partition function, and once you get the partition function, then the average energy can be obtained, which is what is internal energy in thermodynamics. And internal energy can be obtained by writing minus dou by dou beta logarithm of z. So this is one particular fact. Then the second particular fact that we want to understand is these fluctuations in energy. Okay, so this work was done by Einstein, and the fluctuations in energy. Normally what happens is that if you have any random variable, you can have average value of that, and then there can be so you would also be interested in asking a question how this random variable will be fluctuating around this mean. Okay, and that is usually obtained by what is called a variance, right, or the standard deviation in general. So fluctuations in energy you can define as fluctuation in energy can be defined as average value of E square minus average value of E the whole square, which is same as saying that you have E minus average value of E whole square, that is you subtract from each energy and then take an average of this quantity. These two are same, and this is what you call it as variance in E. Okay, so we would like to understand how to obtain this one, or what this actually means. So for that, what we will do is we'll try to ask what is average. Average E square is nothing but sum over I E I square into P of A. Whatever is the quantity whose average you are taking, you have to put that for each microstate and put multiply with its probability, and then sum over all microstates. That's all that you have to do in statistics. Okay, so this is essentially, so this is equal to sum over I, ei square into e to the minus beta ei divided by z. So I can write this using the same logic as the previous case. I can write this as dou square by dou beta square. Because I want to get ei square, I differentiate it twice into z. Dou square by dou beta square into z. So let me write it in the following fashion. So this is 1 by z into dou by dou beta into dou z by dou beta. Okay. Now I can go back and look at previous point where I have obtained for example here I can write from here that dou z by dou beta is equal to minus average energy into z. Okay, so we can write dou z by dou beta can be written as minus average energy. So if I substitute that one here, this becomes 1 by z into dou by dou beta of the minus sign I will pull out and put it here, and dou e into z. Now remember, z is a function of beta and e is also a function of beta. Both of them are temperature dependent quantities, and hence I have to use a product rule here. So first term is z into dou e by dou beta, and second is plus average energy into dou z by dou beta. Okay, so here in this first term, you can see that this z and z will cancel. So I have minus dou e by dou beta. And here I have plus, minus sign, and e into 1 by z dou z by dou beta. But remember, what is 1 by z dou z by dou beta with a negative sign? That is average energy itself. So you can see that this this result is minus dou e by dou beta plus average e the square. What is this equal to on this side? This side we started with average e square average. So I take this onto the left hand side. So I have average e square minus average e the square is equal to minus dou e by dou beta. This is fine, but then we want to understand what this right hand side is. For that, let us try to recast this in terms of temperature. I know that beta is equal to 1 by kBT. So I want to write this in terms of T. So it is dou by dou T into dou T by dou beta. Okay. Plus by kB into beta. So what will be dou T by dou beta? Dou T by dou beta will be equal to minus 1 by kB into beta square. I want to write this in terms of E. Beta is 1 by kBt, so this is equal to kb t square with a negative minus kbt square. So this is equal to minus kbt square into dou by dou. So there is a minus sign coming from here, and there is already a minus sign. So we have average E square minus average E the square is equal to kb t square into dou E by dou t. Now I think if you can recall from your thermodynamics, this quantity is called the specific heat at constant volume. So you can see that this is called Einstein's relation, where the fluctuations in the energy E square minus average E the square is related to the specific heat. Okay, so there is a general result in statistical mechanics, namely the fluctuation dissipation theorem, and this is a special case of what is called a fluctuation dissipation theorem, where so essentially the idea is something like this, and CV is what is called thermal response function. Okay, so if you have your system, so you have your let's say this is your time t, and then let's say this is your energy, and then there is some kind of average energy here. This is your average energy, and what happens to this energy is that this energy actually fluctuates around this average energy. Okay, and these fluctuations are captured by this variance. Okay, if the variance is large, then there will be large fluctuations. So these are what is called the equilibrium fluctuations around this average energy. Okay, now what happens, suppose by some accident or probability that there is some large fluctuation that suppose let's say there is some large fluctuation like this, something like this, then the system will actually try to erase these fluctuations and relax these fluctuations to equilibrium fluctuations. Okay, so this is what is called dissipation. That is, any large fluctuation is actually dissipated. Now we would like to so the idea is that the system will not know whether this large fluctuation has been generated within or it has been induced by an outside agency. System will always try to react in the same way. Once the large fluctuation is occurred, then it will try to dissipate that fluctuation. So that is what we will try to make use when we try to study the system. We want to understand the nature of fluctuations of the system. So what we do is we try to introduce a large fluctuation in the system and see how okay. So this entire thing is what you call as a linear response theory. We don't study this in our course, but probably if you choose to work in this area of statistical mechanics after your MSc, then you will come across a theory called linear response theory, which is supposed to deal with this kind of fluctuation dissipation mechanism in systems. So that is the reason why a thermal response function is how the system is responding, is related to the fluctuations in the energy. You will see later that if you look at, for example, when you look at some examples like in magnetic systems, the fluctuations in the magnetization is related to a response function, which is called the magnetic susceptibility. So these fluctuation dissipation results are quite general, and there you will see that such results are very important. And one more point, which is a little tangential to our discussion, but yet it's relevant, is that when you are trying to, for example, suppose if I am doing a computer simulation of some statistical mechanical system, and then I am trying to simulate the ensemble corresponding to some canonical ensemble, let's say, then I suppose if I am interested in finding the specific heat of a system, then and I want to simulate the specific heat data and then compare with the experiment. Let's say that is my idea. Then I will not know how to calculate simulate specific heat per se, but I can actually calculate these fluctuations, and then through these fluctuations I actually obtain the specific heat, and that I will try to compare with the experiments. So these fluctuation dissipation results are quite important in computer simulations that way, because they help us in getting these response functions directly calculated from the. So this is one more general result, which is true for all the canonical ensembles. Now the third result that I wanted to, more general result of the canonical ensemble that I wanted to present is the following. Now, suppose if I have, let's say, I talk about Pi, which is the probability of a microstate I, as e to the minus beta ei divided by z. Okay. Suppose if I take logarithm of Pi, which is equal to minus beta ei and minus logarithm of z, and then suppose multiply with Pi throughout, and sum over all microstates. Sum over all microstates. So if you do that, then you will have sum over I Pi logarithm of Pi sum over I Pi into Pi minus logarithm of z into sum over I Pi. Okay. Remember, z and beta, they are not a part of, they don't change with I, so I don't have to write them inside the summation. Now, what is this quantity? This quantity is the average energy, correct? That is internal energy in thermodynamics. And sum over all probabilities is 1. Okay, so that tells me that I have minus beta into u minus logarithm of that. Okay, so let me write this as minus u by kT kBT minus level. Okay, so I can write this. KB in this case. So let me take out a minus sign and write minus KB into sum over I VI logarithm of VI is equal to U by T plus KB logarithm of Z. Okay. Now you can see that note that we have F is equal to minus KB T into logarithm of Z. This is how we have started our thing. So if I write down minus F by T, then I will have this to be KB logarithm of Z. So I can write that here, that is U by T minus F by T is equal to U minus F by T. But what is F? You know, from thermodynamics, F is nothing but U minus Ts. So that is equal to U minus Ts the whole divided by T. So U cancels. So what we have is S. So you can see that the entropy in canonical ensemble can be obtained as an expression like this. So the entropy S is obtained as minus KB sum over I Pi logarithm of Pi. Okay, so this expression is called Gibbs entropy relation. Okay, Gibbs entropy relation. We had seen earlier the Boltzmann's entropy relation. So in a special case of this one, for example, if we have a microcanonical ensemble, then if we have a situation that all microstates are equally probable, if Pi is equal to 1 by omega for all I, okay, remember this is microcanonical ensemble. This is a microcanonical ensemble, and if we have Pi is equal to 1 by omega, then we substitute this is equal to minus KB sum over I 1 by omega into logarithm of 1 by omega. So how many things will be there? So omega number of microstates are there. So that is equal to minus KB into, you can say 1 by omega, and this one I can write as minus logarithm of omega, and there will be omega such terms. So this will cancel, and this becomes KB logarithm of omega. So this was our Boltzmann relation. So this is a general expression for entropy, which reduces to Boltzmann relation, the probability for each microstate to be same. So this is general because this is applicable even if the probability is not equal for different microstates. So it is. It turns out that this expression is valid even if you have grand canonical partition function, grand canonical ensemble, which we will study when we go to grand canonical ensemble. But this is an Gibbs entropy relation is a generalization of Boltzmann relation for an ensemble called canonical ensemble. So this is one particular general result. Okay.
Sir, how you solve that summation? Like,
Which summation?
at the end, now, like you cancel to omega, right?
So what I'm saying is that this probability is, so this entire thing doesn't depend on I, right? So it is like, so this is like sum over I, 1. How many such ones are there? There are omega such ones are there. Correct.
Yes, sir.
So that is omega. So that will cancel with the
Okay, sir. And minus sign?
There is already a minus sign here, and logarithm of 1 by omega, I am writing it as minus logarithm of omega. Pi is 1 by omega, logarithm of 1 by omega, which will be minus logarithm of omega. So this minus sign and this minus sign will become plus.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So these are some general remarks or general results that we have for canonical ensemble. And so, as I told you that we can look at some simple and you see that some of these things that we have done already can be done in much easier way if you use canonical ensemble. So let us look at. So before we go to an application, so let me also tell you how to do this. How to do these problems or applications with respect to canonical ensemble. So we have a system. System basically means that we have a Hamiltonian. Okay, and then like in the previous case, we have two situations. Could be a classical system where energy changes continuously, and then you have to find out the partition function by doing an integral of dq bar dp bar. The major advantage is that there is no constraint on the integration because the probability function is obtained by the Boltzmann weight factor like this. And if you have a quantum system, then I think you have to first solve this equation, h psi n is equal to E n psi n. That means you have to first get the allowed values of energy, and once you get that one, then you can find out z is equal to sum over n e to the minus beta En. So in both cases, once you obtain this partition function, then the job is same. Then you are going to write your f as minus kbt lambda z, and then from there you get your thermodynamics. So this is in some sense flow chart or of course, depending on whether you are distinguishable particles or indistinguishable particles, you have to appropriately multiply that 1 by factorial n at this point in the classical case. So this is the okay. So I want to demonstrate this method by so let us try to look at classical ideal gas. Okay, so let us look at applications. So let's look at classical ideal gas. Now the classical ideal gas, the Hamiltonian is given by sum over I is equal to 1 to 3n Ei square by 2m. You may recall that we did this problem in microcanonical ensemble where we have to find out the volume of a hypersphere of 3n dimension and so on. So here it is somewhat simple. So what you have to do is you have to simply write down your partition function to be 1 over h power 3n, and of course for factorial n, and sum over integral dq bar and dp bar into e to the minus beta into h of q bar. H doesn't depend on q bar. So this is for this q integration, you will have v power n by h power 3n into factorial n into, I have integral from minus infinity to plus infinity e to the minus beta e square by 2m dp, and such terms there are 3n such terms. So I'll have to just raise it to the power 3n. And this is a Gaussian integral, whose solution is square root of 2m by beta into root pi. So that is going to give you that v to the n by h to the 3n into factorial n into 2m pi by beta to the power 3n by 2. Now you can see that this is quite in 2 steps we have got the I can write this as v to the n by factorial n into 2 pi m kbt divided by h square to the power 3n by 2. Now whatever is in this bracket and 3 by 2, that must be ringing some bell in your memory. This is essentially a quantum volume associated with that. So the partition function is like v to the n divided by vq to the n into n factor. This is basically the partition function for our this one, the ideal gas. You are not going to get any different results because this is just I have solved this problem using a different ensemble. All those equations of state, energy, etc., whatever we have done, all those results will turn out to be the same. So let us not. So if you want, you can get those results yourself, related with Helmholtz free energy, and then you can get those results. But I instead wanted to try to show you an example where it is difficult to do this problem, a problem which is difficult to do using microcanonical ensemble. So let us consider a problem of a classical ideal gas of ideal gas of ultra relativistic particle.
Hello.
Yeah.
So in this problem, in this application, we have taken h equal to summation I equal to 1 to 3m, pi square by 2m. Then the integral, okay, integral q is not a, so h is not a function of q, only function of p. How to replace that p, like there we have discrete p values, like I, like h is the function of p, and I goes from 1 to n, like for 10 possible coordinates. In the integral, how to write that, like this square by 2m you have taken, and you have taken the integration from minus infinity to plus infinity. How is that?
Okay, I am not very sure if I understood what you asked because your voice was also not continuously coming. But anyway, let me try to write this. Then, if you understand, you can. So this integral, I hope your question is with respect to so dp1, dp2. So each one of them will go from minus infinity to plus infinity. This goes from minus infinity to plus infinity, etc., up to dp3n, okay, into e to the minus beta by 2m into p1 square plus p2 square, etc., up to p3n square. Okay, this is the momentum integral. Okay, so
Yes,
this integral I can write it like this, because p1, p2, p3n are all independent. So this I can write it as integral minus infinity to infinity dp1 e to the minus beta p1 square by 2m into a similar integral like that 3n times. The result of each of this integral is going to be same, and hence I can evaluate one integral and raise it to the power 3n. Is that the question?
yes, it's now understood.
Okay. So suppose if I consider ideal gas of ultra relativistic particles. So what do you mean by ultra relativistic particles? That means they have very high momentum, where the Hamiltonian of those particles are simply given by sum over I is equal to 1 to n, there are n number of particles, and Cpi. Okay, so what is Pi? Pi is the magnitude of the momentum of ith particle, not the component. Okay, please understand, it's not I equal to 1 to 3n, it's Cpi. So if we have this kind of a situation where you have ultra relativistic particles, I'm calling this ultra because remember the energy is for relativistic particle, the energy is square root of c square t square plus m square c to the power 4. Okay, this is usual energy. So I am assuming that the Cp is much greater than mc square, and this is the meaning of ultra relativistic particle. So I can neglect this, and then energy can become, in that case, c times p. So I am using this under this one. This is why I am using this word ultra. Okay, the meaning of ultra is that I am assuming that the rest mass is much smaller compared to the energy associated with the momentum. Now, suppose if I am interested in finding out what is the partition. Now, look at this situation that it is not sigma. Okay, to find sigma, what do you call sigma in microcanonical ensemble? We will be saying that, okay, you have 1 by h power 3n, and this is also ideal gas, so 1 by factorial n, and then you have dq bar, dp bar, but there is a constraint that sum over I equal to 1 to n, Epi is less than or equal to E. Now, notice that this particular constraint is not giving you any geometrical or easily handleable geometrical figure so that you can find the volume under that. Whereas a classical non-relativistic ideal gas, we had a sphere, so we could easily find out the. So geometrically, this integral is not very easy to evaluate. So it is a hard problem to get sigma. Then find out the partition function, because here the integration has no constraints. So 1 by h power through n factorial n, and I have integral e to the minus beta Cpi. Okay, and of course I must write a summation here. Equal 1 to n, and let me write down that. So let's at this moment let me write down dp bar dq bar, and this dq bar as usual will become v power n if v is the volume associated with that by factorial n. Now, in this particular case, since this depends only on the magnitude of the momentum, I can write this as 4 pi p square p for the minus beta c e, and integrate this from 0 to infinity, because the magnitude of the momentum has to go from 0 to infinity, and then raise this whole thing to the power n, not 3n, because this is for each particle. So that is, so I can pull this out. So v to the n by h to the 3n factorial n. So I have 4 pi to the power n, and I have p square into e to the minus cp from 0 to infinity. So you can set beta cp to be equal to some p, and dp will be equal to 1 by beta c into dt. Okay, so then you have 1 by beta to the power n, and then here you have p square. P square can be p is t by c. So I have another t by, so p is equal to t by beta c. So there will be another 2n from there, so that will become 3n here. and integral 0 to infinity t square e to the minus t dt. This integral raised to the power n. Now you can see that this is gamma 3 because it is a gamma function. So gamma 3 is 2. So you get this integral is simply 2 power n. So that is equal to v to the power n. That 2 and this one will become 8 pi to the power n. Factorial n into 1 by beta c to the power 3. So this is our partition function. So it's so easy to find out partition function, and you can do all other thermodynamics from here. For example, if you want to find out, average energy of this, which is given by minus from our result today, logarithm of z. So you can see that there's only one term which is sitting here is this beta. All other terms doesn't have beta. So this is equal to minus dou by dou beta of minus 3n logarithm of beta. You can also write minus 3n logarithm of t, but this is not going to contribute. Okay, there are other terms. Of course, I'm not writing those terms. So this is going to give you 3n by beta, which is nothing but 3n kb. So the average energy is 3n kb. Okay. So you want to write down the specific heat, it is 3n into kb. Specific heat is given by 3n into kb. In the same way, you can write down F is equal to minus kb E into logarithm of z. And if you want to write down the pressure, which is minus dou F by dou V, which is equal to minus dou by dou V I. Logarithm of the only term that I am interested in is this V. So kbTn of logarithm of V. And there are other terms which are not going to contribute, so I will not worry about that. That is kbT, kbTn by V, which is nothing but PV is equal to n kbT. This is the equation of state that we have for okay. So we have. So these are the things that we can find out. And you can write, of course, from the enthalpy relation, which is equal to U plus PV, and U is equal to 3n kBT plus PV is equal to n kBT. So we have 4n kBT, and from here we can write down Cp, which is and derivative of enthalpy with respect to this as 4n. And you can see Cp over Cv, which is usually called as gamma, is 4/3 in this case. And for non-relativistic ideal gas, you can show that it is gamma is equal to 5/3. Gamma is equal to 4/3. So I wanted to show you that in this particular application, ideal gas of ultra relativistic particle is hard to do if you have to do it in a microcanonical ensemble, whereas if you use canonical ensemble, then the problem becomes very simple, and you can easily show that thermodynamic quantities can be calculated from the partition function. There are many other applications that we will do as we go along. Also, there are some general results, some more general results that we would like to. So we will try to do more general results also, and more applications also in this particular answer. Okay, so I can stop here, and if you have some questions, we can. So, do any of you feel that this course is going slow or fast? If some speed has to be increased. Now I think I have become a little proficient in writing. So if we can increase speed, we can increase it also. So do you think is it very slow?
Well, sir, I think the speed is good. Maybe it can be increased a little bit, but not too much.
Okay, it can be a little bit increased.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm asking this question because when I try to see, when sometimes I try to see the video, I feel that it is very slow. That's why. It should not be boring too much.
So if we write continuously along with you, then it's still proper for us.
Yes, sir, we are writing with you. So the speed is fine.
Okay, okay. But I think you don't have to write, isn't it? Because I'm sending notes, so you can concentrate on understanding. Because,
Sir, but there are some things that you're adding in between that we like to take down. So.
Oh, what I'm speaking.
Yes.
But that will be there in video also.
Yeah. So overall, I think this is a very comfortable pace for us.
Okay. Okay, I think we are not doing that bad with the course. It's fine. Since you are giving me some additional class once in a while, I'm able to manage covering something. No, the point is that this course is quite, I mean, at least perceived to be tough by many people. So I think if you learn well, I think you will have some you can comfortably claim to be so in the when you go outside, and it's not very difficult to learn, but somehow in many places this course is not considered to be tough for reasons that are not clear. But I hope you are not feeling tough so far. So any parameter, if it is fluctuating, it is not constant. It is considered as a random variable, because only for a random variable one can define a probability distribution. So we are saying probability of energy EI, that means energy is considered as a random variable. It is not in canonical ensemble. It will also be true in grand canonical ensemble, because there also energy fluctuates. There, in addition to energy, also the number of particles will fluctuate. So your probability will depend on a microstate will have different energies and different number of particles. Just like we have seen different columns in that first diagram. Arshad, I thought that is your question.
Sir?
Is that your question?
Will this random variable be always discrete, or it can be a continuous?
Not necessarily.
Because in
Like,
classical case, we
yeah.
consider it to be
Yeah.
continuous.
So in classical case, it is it continuously changes. So then you have a probability distribution of energy. In the case of quantum systems, it will be discrete energies. So that in both cases, it can be a random variable. Only the distribution will be different. In one case, it is a continuous probability distribution. In other case, it will be a discrete probability distribution.
Okay.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, in the previous class when we discussed elasticity of a rubber